Today's the day, you guys. Today is the day you've all been waiting for. Day one, World Series of Poker main event. I got the proper backpack on today because we're expecting today to be a full day. 50,000 in chips with the big blind starting at 150, which means 333 big blinds to start. Normally I buy into the 510 no limits cash game at the Bellagio for 1,500, 150 big blinds. This would be like buying into that game for $3,333. Obviously the blinds are gonna go up after a couple hours. Stacks will be slightly shallower after a couple of hours, but that's a couple of hours. Hopefully. Shout out to that guy. But hopefully we'll have won a couple hands by then. And we'll just chug along, have a long day one. Cheers, buddy.
Hey, you too, man.
Good luck.
Good luck in there.
Slightly behind schedule. We probably missed the shuffle up and deal. It's like 5 or 10 after 11 right now. So we might have 332 big blinds by the time I get in there. Alright guys, just chilling at this table right back here, seat number 4. Off and running here, as mentioned before, blind 75 and 150. Already a semi-tricky hand that I got into. I looked down at 5-7 of spades from early position. I make it 400 and get 4 callers. Flop comes ace king 9 all spades, so we flop a flush. The blinds check, I bet half pot, 1K. Folds around to the big blind, he makes the call. Turn is the queen of spades. Not the ideal card. He checks it to me, I check it back. River is another 9, so pairs the board. Not exactly the run out that I had in mind. This time he leads out for 2150. I think all the options are on the table here. I should have all of the best hands here with aces full and kings full. So bluffing on this river, bluff raise seems reasonable, but felt like my hand was just too good to turn it into a bluff. Not exactly sure. And also maybe a little bit too good to fold, but I think you can just flip a coin on the river there with that bet. So as you guys know, I don't like to fold rivers very much, so I call, and he's got quad 9s. So I guess the only good news is that I didn't go crazy with a raise on the river there. I don't think he was folding. All right, back to work. Alright guys, break number 1. Table seems pretty good. I don't recognize anybody at the table, which is always nice. Nothing super annoying has happened since the flop flush hand versus quad 9s. One interesting hand that came up happened when, again, the blinds are still at 75, 150. Cutoff opens for 400. I like down at pocket aces on the button. Pocket aces in the main event. Life is good, right? And on the button, no less. I make a 3-bet, 1100. The big blind cold calls, and the cutoff calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 8-3 all hearts. We do have the ace of hearts. So action checks to me. I bet 1500. The big blind calls, and the cutoff folds. Heads up to a turn of an offsuit queen. Not exactly my favorite card. This time the big blind leads out. He bets 3600. Not too much choice here. Raising seems a little silly, and folding is out of the question. So that pretty much leaves one option. I toss in the call. River seems like a much better card. River is the 6 of hearts. So we make the nut flush on the river. My opponent doesn't stop betting though. He bets 5100. So now it's just a question of calling or raising. My opponent in this hand happens to be the most active player by far at the table. So I think versus some players I prefer a call, some I prefer a raise. Not that it should matter too much in this spot, because we've only been playing for literally less than 2 hours, and the sample size is so small that it's tough to jump to too many conclusions about any one particular hand or his range in this spot just based on such a short period of play. But having the nut flush here and having seen some of the things that I've seen so far, I decided to go for some value, some thin value, and I raised it up to 12,200. It could be a little bit thin, but I'm pretty much only worried about pocket queens, which is quads, and also he would have had to cold call with that pre-flop, playing super deep, which just seems unlikely. Pocket eights is a possibility. Aside from that, not too worried about too many hands here. So I went for the thin value, but eventually he decided on a fold. So it could be a little bit thin, especially in the main event when people are a little bit hesitant to make too many mistakes. But like I said, versus this particular opponent, it felt like it was okay. No more value though. He folds, and that's okay. Happy to take down the pot with pocket aces again on the button in the main event. Doesn't get much sweeter than that, right? So here we are on first break. Things going okay. Just chilling. Blinds will be going up to 200, 400 perhaps. I should know these things. You'd think I would know these things. It's the main event. You should be looking into the structure and all that stuff. But what do I know about structures? I think I have somewhere around 55 to 57,000. Again, we started with 50,000, so yeah, just chilling, chugging along, grinding it out, back to work. All right guys, second break here, not a ton of time. Just stopped to talk to Jeff Gross, who I met for the first time just now. I talked to him online a couple times before today. He's a fellow Michigander. Seems like a really nice dude. So earlier we actually swapped 1%. I just stopped by and talked to him. He recorded a quick thing for his blog. He's got a blog on YouTube. I will link it up here, I think. I'll try to. And you can check out my little cameo over there on his channel. But just have to try and run through a few hands real quick because there's not too much time left on break now. So I looked down at pocket fives in the cutoff, and I make it 700 to go at 150, 300. Pulls to the big blind, who puts in a 3-bet. He makes it 2,200. I'm not going to fold here. I'm definitely going to call. I've seen him limp call a bunch of hands pre-flop. He's been doing a lot of limping, playing mostly passive. I think we're deep enough. I'm not sure exactly how deep we are, but if he's going to show aggression, that means he likely has somewhat of a better hand, better than average pre-flop, which is, I think, a good thing, because when I do make a set, it seems like I'm more likely to get more money from a good hand. So I call the 2,200, we go heads up to a flop, and it comes pretty favorable. It comes ace-9-5 with 2 diamonds. He bets 2,500, and I think I'm just happy to flat call in this spot, heads up. I think he will have a lot of ace-x type hands, ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, but he could also have some pocket kings, pocket queens type hands as well. Don't want to just blow him off the hand with a raise. I think flatting here is okay. So I go ahead and flat call. Turn is a 9 of clubs, which brings second flush draw, but also gives us a full house. So pretty good card. Makes it less likely that he has pocket nines. And now we don't have to worry about flush draws. This time he bets 3,200. Again, I'm just happy to flat here, keep all ranges wide, and if he does happen to have pocket aces, maybe minimize the damage and just see what happens on the river. But I think flat call is pretty standard here. River's a 6 of diamonds, so it brings in the diamond flush possibility. And this time he bets 6,100. So I think if he were to bet a little bit bigger, if he were to size up here, I might be more tempted to just flat call, just because people are a little bit timid to risk too much in the main event, I think. But when he only bets 6,100, I think it's a little bit cautious on his part, trying to get a read off of his sizing there. So I decided to put in a raise. I make it 17,200. He thinks for a while, kind of goes back and forth, it seems, in his mind, and eventually he decides on a call. So since he took that long to call, we obviously have the best hand here. I flip it over. He kind of looks at his cards again. I wonder if he might have had like a ace-king of diamonds type of hand. It's certainly possible. So pretty good result in that hand, to say the least. Flopping a set in the main event. Life is pretty good so far. So in this next hand, the under the gun player limps. I look down at ace-king offsuit. I make it 900 to go. There's 3 calls, so 4 ways to a flop. Flop was ace 10 deuce rainbow. Pretty dry flop. The big blind and the limper check to me. I make a small bet of 1300. Only the under the gun limper calls. So heads up to a turn card, which comes the queen of diamonds, brings a backdoor flush draw. This time I bet 3600, and he thinks for a little bit and calls again. I don't think I need to worry too much about an ace queen. I don't think I need to check back necessarily, just for fear of that one hand. I feel like if he's limping in, limp calling, he can have a lot of ace X type hands here. Ace queen is a possibility, but so are lots of other aces. So anyway, he calls that bet and we're off to a river card, which is a king of diamonds. Gives us top 2 pair, but brings in the backdoor flush draw. He thinks for a while and then he checks it over to me. So 4 to a straight, 3 to a flush. We do have top 2 pair, but I feel like with the range of hands that I put him on, it's gonna be tough to get a 3rd street of value from like a top pair type hand, ace X with weak kicker. And it doesn't seem too likely that he's gonna have a worse 2 pair here than I have. So with that in mind, I make somewhat of a cautious check back. Just play it safe, check back the river. But he turns over 10-8 of diamonds. So he flop top pair, turn to flush draw, gets there in the river. Pretty happy that I checked back the river there and minimized the damage in that hand. All right, one more interesting hand before we got to get back to the grind. This time I open up pocket 5s once again to 800 from middle position. Both of the blinds call, so 3 ways to this flop. Comes ace ace deuce rainbow. They check it to me, and I just want to make a small bet. Maybe get value from a deuce or pocket 3s, pocket 4s, but more important than that maybe is to fold out all equity, like king queen type hands, any hands really that have 2 overcards. So I just want to make a small bet. I think it's okay since the board is paired and very dry. So I just bet 800, same as my pre-flop raise. The small blind, however, he puts in basically what amounts to a min raise. He makes it 1650. Big blind folds. I think he could be doing this with a few different hands. Doesn't need to be nutted here by any stretch. So it's so cheap, I decided to make the call. Turn is an offsuit jack. He bets the same amount that he bet on that he check raised to on the flop. So pretty cheap, very cheap here, and it's possible that he could be doing this with some different hands that we beat as well as that we lose to. I don't always expect to be winning here by any stretch, but it's so cheap that I'm just gonna peel one off and see what happens on the river. Maybe try and make a play at it, but try and get to showdown. So I go ahead and make the call, and you see a river card of a 5. I'd say that's rather favorable for our hands. Pretty sweet river card. This time he bets 2150. Time to go for some value, I think. Again, with that small sizing, feels like he's not exactly super nutted here, so I raise it up to 8200. He snap calls. I show, and he kind of chuckles and tosses it into the muck. So nice, probably what amounted to a suck out, but the bets were so cheap that he basically reeled me in, and you know, I don't hate my calls that much. But yeah, favorable river, running good. Pocket 5 is doing us very well. I had pocket aces, so we're up to over 100K, a little bit over 100,000 in chips right now. Hoping that I did not use all of my run good up in levels 1 and 2. So I don't know, we're gonna see what happens. Just grinding, just gonna keep looking to make some good hands. Let's get back to it. Alright guys, just heading to dinner break right now with the sea of people here. Meeting up with my buddy JK, John Kim, I've mentioned before. We're gonna go grab some pizza somewhere. I think it's a place I've never been to, so I will see you there just now. You got lucky. Direction rewarded. You got a little lucky there.
Oh, dude, you were dressed up. Okay. Oh my god.
We gotta get some shoes like those. Then you can feel a little bit more aggressive.
You like it?
Alright guys, just chilling here on dinner break with 2 of the best poker players in the world. One of them self-admittedly so. One of them is a little bit more humble. I'll let you guys decide which is which. Joe Tehan and John Kim. I'll get him on camera in a second here, but nothing too crazy to report from the last level there. There was one hand where I open up Queen 10 of Hearts from under the gun to 800. The cutoff in the big blind call. So 3 ways to a flop. King Queen 5, rainbow, 1 heart. Big blind checks, I check. The cutoff puts out a bet. He bets 1500, big blind folds, I make the call. Turn is Jack of Spades, which brings a backdoor flush draw and gives us an open and a straight draw to go along with second pair. I check it over to him again. This time he bets 3150. Can't fold here. I go ahead and make the call. River's a blank. I check it over to him again. This time he bets 6,000. He hasn't been getting too out of line. I've seen him flat call with like the second nuts or so. A couple different rivers, pretty strong hands. So he's been pretty cautious. I just give him the credit for it. Don't want to pay it off. I fold. So we lose that one. There was another hand where that same player opened from early position, 800 again. The hijack and the cutoff both call. I look down at pocket aces again on the button. I make it 3,100. Initial raiser folds. The other 2 players call. So 3 ways to a flop of 5, 4, 3, rainbow. They check to me and I bet 4,200, I think. They both fold, but the initial raiser said that he folded pocket 5s, so that's a pretty good result. So you get these other 2 guys in there with their money, and to get the what would have been a top set to fold pre-flop. So that's some run good. Just grinding away. Gonna eat some pizza and get back to it. All right, so I said I was sitting here with 2 of the best poker players, 2 of the best poker players in the world. One self-admittedly so, one a little bit more humble. I left it up to the audience to decide who is going to be who.
Yeah, self-admittedly.
How's summer going?
Cash games have been good, and tournaments always suck.
Yeah,
you know.
Always. I mean,
yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah.
You do have some results to speak of.
How about that 6-handed or 7-handed big mix game he played with Sauce 1, 2, 3,
Oh my gosh.
B-Tech,
Yeah.
and Jungle Man.
Jungle Man.
Good game.
This guy was it 4-handed?
No, we were playing like 6-handed, and a guy comes up behind 3 of the people and he says, "Oh my God, I want to take a picture with 3 of the best poker players in the world." And I'm like prettying up my face. I'm like, "All right, man, you know." And he's like, "No, it's Sauce."
I can't believe it.
And then B-Tech. I'm like,
and Jungle Man, Sauce, and
B-Tech, and Jungle Man.
Ben Tollerine.
I'm like, "Listen, guy, like, I don't know who you think these guys are, but."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was just too shy to talk to the Joe Tehan. That was probably it. You guys were doing content way before I was doing content. You guys were doing podcasts and stuff. That was well before I was doing the vlogs.
That might have been your intro, Andrew, into all the social media
It could have been. Those kind of things. Those were awesome podcasts.
But no, Joe and I started off with Card Runners, made videos there.
We were kind of business fish. We just did really well in poker, but we were like kind of suckers in terms of like the business side of it. We were just like, okay, just put some money into this business and see if it grows. We kind of enjoy talking about poker. Maybe other people will listen, but we didn't really have like a business plan or anything. But in terms of like talking about poker, we still enjoy it. Yeah. It's still fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we share the same desired drive that you're showing in all your vlogs, Andrew. Just kind of going through hands and stuff and trying to educate people. Joe and I have always liked talking hands and poker. So,
yeah.
And you know the group we're in, I think as a whole we all love discussing hands and strategy. So that's cool that you're putting it up public.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Anything else you guys want to say on the blog?
We're still live in the main event, man.
Yeah.
One of us could make a deep run.
How many chips?
Dude, don't be talking out like that, man. You know I got 20.
All right, we'll check back with you on after day 2.
After day 2, check with me.
All right, let's do that.
Guys,
Here we go, baby.
Do it like right about here.
Yeah.
Right in this area.
All right. 2 lots, ready?
Okay.
It goes rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You guys are
okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
And
got a lot.
What a fish.
All right, guys, back at the Rio. We've got about 3 minutes left on break. Taking 100K in chips into the next level. I don't know if pizza was the best choice there for dinner. a little rundown. Just gonna battle through, back to battle. Let's go. All right guys, heading into the last break before we head into the last level of the evening. Moving into 250-500 with a 50 ante, I believe. For as much of a card rack as I was through the first 3 levels, I was exactly that card dead through this last level, except for the very last hand just before break. 200-400 with a 50 ante. The under the gun player limps. I limp just next to him with pocket 4s, and the action goes 7 ways. We managed to get a limped pot 7 ways to the flop. Flop comes 7-5-4 rainbow. So we make yet another set here. So the 2 blinds check, the under the gun player checks. I decided to check it, and action checks all the way to the button, who bets 1500. I call and the cutoff calls. So 3 ways to a turn card, which is the ace of diamonds, bringing a backdoor flush draw. Somebody commented in the previous video, does every turn bring a backdoor flush draw? And yes, apparently it does. So I check it, cutoff checks. This time the button bets 3,000. I decide to flat again and just play a little bit cautious, kind of under-repping my hand. There's a couple straights out there which are not out of the realm of possibility for this player. So I flat and the cutoff folds. So this time, so now we're going heads up to the river card, which seems like a brick. It's offsuit queen. So I decided to lead out on this card because I think there's lots of hands that my opponent will check back here with this run out. And I feel like if he puts in a very big raise, I'll probably just let it go. I don't think he'd be raising too much here outside of the nuts or the second nuts. I don't think he's gonna be raising 2 pair. And I don't think I'm gonna be put in that tough of a spot. I think he'll probably find a fold if he raises it. So with that in mind, I decided to lead out for 7,100, and my opponent calls pretty quickly. So we roll it over and he shows us ace 7 offsuit. So pretty good result there. He flopped top pair, turned top 2. I think he probably would have put a bet in, but I'm not sure about a check raise on my end. And his sizings haven't been that big, so we probably got somewhere near the same amount by leading on the river instead of checking it over to him on the river. Definitely could make a case for putting some more money in or taking the lead at a different point, but I think I'm okay with that. Aside from that, there weren't any other super interesting hands. There was a hand where I 3-bet king queen and got 1 caller, and the flop came 8-8-7. I bet 1/3 pot, he folds. And then there was like 4 or 5 other hands where I went to the flop and completely whiffed, and then pretty much just bled away for the rest of the time. Not too much bleeding going on because blinds are still pretty low. I still have a pretty healthy stack at this point. So yeah, just being patient, picking some spots, waiting patiently for sets, making sets at the main event. Yeah, the stack is now at 103,000. Not too much change since dinner break. Was pretty card dead for a while until the very last hand before break. Made all that back and a few thousand more. So blinds will be 250-500, somewhere around 200 big blinds. 1 more level to go, then we can call it a night, wrap it up, get some rest. Alright guys, we made it to day 2. Just about to get bagged up. I'm bagging this stack right here, which equates to 86,800. Just gonna get bagged up and then wrap it up outside. Alright guys, just wrapping up the day here. As I said, might be a little windy here, but alright, pretty wiped, pretty tired. I didn't really sleep that well last night. Too excited for the main event. Slipped a little bit in the last level. There was a hand where I probably could have played it better. I opened up ace 10 off suit from under the gun +2, I think. I probably could have just folded pre-flop. It's a little bit early position. Not terrible. I get 2 calls, 1 in position and 1 in the blinds. Flop comes 9-8-7 with 2 clubs. Big blind checks, I check. Middle position player bets 2,300. Big blind calls, I call as well. Turns an offsuit ace. Big blind checks, I check. Middle position player bets 6,200, I think. Big blind folds, I call again. River total brick, I check, and he bets 17,300, something like that. Pretty tough spot because this player is he's for sure been the most active player at the table throughout the entire day, and he's been caught bluffing like 4 or 5 times. I don't know if that really matters. I don't think it does. What matters more is that we have a 10, but that probably doesn't matter enough. Anyway, it wouldn't be much of a Andrew Neeme vlog if I wasn't making a somewhat questionable / very questionable call on the river. So I call, and he shows 5-6 of hearts, so he flopped a straight. So I don't think we had to call there. I think we can have better hands, like 2 pairs or sets or something. Yeah, it's a pretty weak hand, so I probably could have lost less on that one. But later on, I ran aces into ace king and stacked the player for like 20K. So we get those chips back, but down a little bit from the peak of 103. I think I got up to 103,000, down to 86 now, but couldn't really complain. Can't really complain about how smooth sailing that was. Made like 3 sets, pocket aces 3 times. I didn't have pocket kings once, so that's kind of bullshit, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. Back to the grinds here on Wednesday for day 2. Looking forward to it. We're gonna have, how many big blinds? So we're gonna have about 145 big blinds, which is pretty solid in a poker tournament with 2-hour levels. Lots of play left to be had. Just gonna come back, hope for more. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now, I think I'm gonna hop on a quick live stream on Instagram. So by the time you're watching this, the live stream will be gone. But maybe next time, follow me on Instagram and you'll see it. All right, back to work. Back to it on Wednesday.